Everybody, Ben and Julia from the Urbstead. Thanks for joining today. We are excited to share some big news and have the kids with us today. So, filming is going to be a blast.
So, we have some really exciting news. We are doing a month-long or till we starve challenge of only eating from the garden. This is super exciting for us and something we've been thinking about for quite a while. And so during this video, we're just gonna kind of go through some ground rules and discuss what type of things we're gonna do, look at the food groups and how we can include those things, because we still want to be healthy and not just eat lettuce greens all month long and poop out our brains. So
We have to.
So we're just gonna go over that stuff right now. All right, so a little disclaimer. This video will be a little bit on the longer side because we're kind of discussing things. Ben and I tried our best not to talk about things like too much so that this can be a little bit more raw. As well as we would love to hear your feedback on what you think that we should do. For supplementing grains, or should we just go super hard until we don't have much carb source left and then supplement, or whatever. So we would love to hear from you, so comment below so we can get your input and you can kind of decide our hunger fate. So I'll briefly do a little run through on what we have considered and what type of foods that we have available for the different food groups. So of course vegetables, that's fine because that's what we're going to be eating. Protein sources, we have green beans and eggs that we'll be using. For dairy, we considered doing dairy or only if we made it. So if we make our own yogurt or cheese, we can have a dairy source. We can't have just straight dairy, like a glass of milk.
We would buy the milk also. We
Yeah.
would just buy and turn it into.
Or we could, there's a couple places at the farmer's market that sell milk. Like we could only buy it from the farmer's market and then make stuff with it.
At least it's a local source rather than a big source. Non-local.
Yeah.
Like a grocery store.
Yeah. So for condiment side, we said oil, salt, maybe pepper.
We actually we used little pepper. Although we would use pepper in things like soups,
Yeah.
which maybe we would do vegetable stock, but we don't really have enough vegetables to make vegetable stock.
Well, you can make stock with all the ends of things.
That's true. That's
all
actually
the after.
I think
aftermath.
I think we should keep pepper just in case.
Let us know what you think. So we talked about protein, grains. We're still on the fence on oats, rice. I kind of like the thought of only using it after our potatoes, sweet potatoes.
Runs out.
Are zucchini a good source of carb?
I don't think.
Starch?
I don't know if there's. I don't think there's starch. Carrot will be a good carb.
Yeah.
It's loaded. Sugar.
Lots of sugar. And then also the coffee, tea, sweeteners realm. In our flower pollinator garden, we actually have lots of things that we can make tea out of, so I think we're gonna be good on that side of things. However, we understand that we are going to go through a first week of pain of detoxing from caffeine and sugar.
Withdrawal.
So that's going to be fun. I did consider of doing a week detox before we do this, just to have a leg up on the game so that we can cave easier. Anyways, hey. And then we also make our own water kefir, which is a carbonated soda. And so we considered doing that as well, just to help those desperate times.
It does use external sugar source.
Yeah.
But we're
Or
not,
juice.
and typically juice. So let us know what you think on that one. I kind of think I mean, I could go both ways. I could see both arguments. It's pretty disconnected from us and what we grow. But we are doing the fermenting. We're doing the effort to take those sugars and turn them into probiotics.
Yeah.
So
I guess we should talk about a little bit about the purpose for this, because it does seem like a silly thing to try to do. Before we really got into gardening real hard, Ben's main desire for our family is for us to produce at least 10% of what we eat.
yearly produce budget. Basically.
Which, I mean, is not a ton. So about a month out of the year is close to that 10%. And so seeing if we can do that, as well as challenging our land and ourselves to see if we can produce enough food to feed us, because hobby gardens are nice, but that's not really what our goal is with what we're doing. We're trying to challenge our yard to be able to produce what we can eat, to eat healthy, and to I could go on a tangent, but to allow our kids to see us eating well and being able to pick stuff. It's kind of amazing that if you put a cucumber on a kid's plate, they won't eat it, but if you let them pick it and eat it right off the vine, then they're interested. And so it's really neat to let them experience that way. So soapbox is over. All right, so kind of went over the food groups quickly. We actually have quite a bit of variety here. We have onions, garlic, all types of kales and greens. We have lots of green beans. We're actually getting so many right now that we're able to freeze some, so we have a little stash going. Our berries are kind of like 1-2 a day. They're still in the developing phase. We got tea stuff, we got tomatoes, potatoes, carrots, melons that probably won't do anything because all the rodents are getting them. Squashes, zucchini.
Brussels sprouts might come up.
Yeah, we might be able to eat some Brussels. I mean, desperate times, we can eat it.
It's true. They're pretty small, but
oh, thank you.
It might come. They might grow and be growing in the perfect amount of time for us to get to them.
Thank you.
We had another Hail Mary that we planted, and that was corn. And the corn came up, and it's probably like 3.5 feet tall, 4 feet tall on the tallest. But they're really thin and spindly, and we have only seen
3 or 4.
Three or four bunches of fibers, so what will be corns. Pretty disheartening, but
it's also not surprising because we did it in a pretty unprepared soil area that we converted from grass to growing space, and that takes like at least 2 years to be nutrient dense enough to grow things well. So the hope with planting the corn is that we would be able to use it during this time as another grain source, which hopefully next year, if we do this again, that would be there. Kind of something that I think about a lot while we've been like planning this is I spent a couple weeks in Cambodia before we got married, and they would eat stuff super early, and I was like, why wouldn't you just wait for this mango to get ripe? Like, this is so bitter and sour, but not understanding that they're eating it because they're hungry. And so that's something that we don't understand here. And as we've been planning this more and more, I'm pretty set on doing this. I've become very protective over our area. We have quite a bit of rodents that have been taking bites of stuff, and they kind of just like cut our cucumbers. Student driver. They cut our cucumbers at the base, like 2 or 3 plants, and that just made me so sad and be like, we're gonna be hungry. And then just this morning, we forgot to close the chicken coop, and something got one of our chickens, so we're down to 6. And so that's another thing. It's both sad that we lost a chicken, but then both infuriating that that's also our food source, the eggs. And so that means 1 less egg a day or every other day, depending on how they produce and whatnot. But
Pretty heartbreaking.
yeah, and so we were messaging people on Craigslist seeing if we can get some more chickens or something. But
All right, so we got a couple questions that we kind of wrote down in preparation how we would think through things. And so the first one here we got is, can we go to a greenhouse to get new food? I don't care what you guys say. Yes, we're going to do that. We're growing it, right? I'm just kidding. So what do you think? I think it's a legit idea, but also it seemed pretty cheap. So I can understand why it's cheap.
that's obnoxious. So we might be already doing that a little bit.
Well, we haven't started yet, so
We're just preempting this. We got some, as you see. That goes on the blueberries. And then another part of that is, can we get seeds to do something like microgreens, which would be a good source of nutrients and a fast turnover.
yeah,
Because you can have like a harvest in about 5 days.
5 days is that. Specifically, there's a blend that we're looking into that has a decent blend of different things like alfalfa, I think radish,
Broccoli, probably.
broccoli, and 2 others. That gives you not just like a good source of greens, but some other nutrients that you need. But it would be a quick turnaround. So if we had to, and we knew we were running out this week of stuff, maybe we could plant some and prepare for 5 days out. So the next thing we got here is, can we trade? So
This is an interesting. I don't know how we would. It's not like we have a bunch of people that we know that are producing stuff of their own. I feel like if we did know people, which if you're Columbus, Ohio, and if you do something that we don't do, hit us up.
Can we talk?
But yeah, I feel like we would have to know someone that's growing something of their own, and that we have something of our own that they desire, and we could do a trade. I feel like that would be kosher.
I think as long as we're talking about trading to people who are growing their own, not I'm going to take 6 eggs and go down to our neighbor
And get a steak.
and get a steak, or get a 5 pounds of flour. So I would say that's not what we want, and that's not our intent.
It's like getting someone else to grocery shop for you.
It's exactly that. But that being said, this opportunity that we're taking, we would love for it to be an outreach and connection to just get to know the community around us in our city. Because as of right now, we don't really. We grow some weird things. We grow loofah, which I don't know if that's a normal thing for people to grow, and we have tons of loofah that we'd love to trade. We have birdhouse board, which is kind of cool if you know what to do with it. So I feel like we might have some things that people are interested in. People might be able to save us, starting one day. So
Yeah.
the next thing we have is, worst case scenario, our farmers market's okay. I know we talked about the dairy thing, so maybe that's already part of the discussion, but should we be allowed to go to a farmer's market and buy more than just dairy. Then we have this next question is kind of a bigger one, more philosophical. But what is enough food? Obviously, our diets are a certain way that if we don't get that amount of food, we're gonna feel hungry. But is it okay to feel hungry? And and our goal shouldn't be that every day we can just pig out on our own food. To an extent, I would love to feel satisfied and know that I'm going to go to bed without a headache or wake up without a headache. So, what is enough food? I feel like we're going to find out pretty quickly. Obviously, the first week we're going to have headaches because caffeine and carbs. So, and we probably won't be very nice to each other at points, which is going to be hard, but maybe we'll just prepare for it and figure out how to best mitigate the hanger, which
I get pretty angry.
Me too. I'm pretty deep in the clutches of hanger. So, so what is enough food? The last two items here, one being foraging. Just found out that, a lot of the weeds in our garden, or weeds in our grass, are probably edible. Like
most of our yard is edible.
Most of our yard's edible.
Between dandelions, these thin plantain is what they're called.
Yeah.
And we have violets that you can eat. We have clover you can eat.
Yeah.
So we're going to be cows.
We're just going to be outside gnawing So I don't. To me, that's on the list without question.
Foraging.
Yeah. We're not, even if we're not growing it, even if we're like somewhere else, foraging. Now, that's not like going to a blueberry patch and picking blueberries.
They can.
But maybe. So comment that one below. What about like going into orchards? We're doing the work. It's local. Anyways.
Something, so on that like foraging thing, connecting with that story I told about Cambodia and how they like eat everything, I would love to know what is actually edible in our yard and surrounding area that we just overlook, and that people that are hungry, they're looking for those weeds to be able to provide for their family, and we're just mowing them over. And so it's an interesting challenge, and something I would like to just test ourselves to see how innovative we can be with it, and to find out what things can do for us that we're just kind of blowing over, or treating our yard so we don't see those ugly weeds anymore, but not knowing that you can make a coffee substitute with dandelion root. Like, that blew my mind. So things like that I think is really cool.
So the last thing on the list that we have is, can we cheat? Like, should we be allowed to have like a number of cheat moments?
And then how big those cheats can be. Like, is that a full meal? Is that just a little bite of chocolate? Is that, I don't know, whatever. So that's something we definitely want input on our cheating rules. I feel like we should have something just to stay sane.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm scared to like slowly watch our produce just go away, and then just us be hungry.
It's true. And so part of it feels like if we don't make it the full month, there is an expectation and a disappointment that we couldn't do it.
I would be happy if we do 2 weeks.
And I think that should be our attitude. I want that to be our attitude, because I think even if we can do 2 weeks, that's 2 weeks more than we ever thought was possible, right?
Yeah. I'm also hoping, selfishly, that this will also help me lose some weight, because, I mean, we're essentially...
We're gonna lose weight.
We probably will drop it, like, the first day, but we'll see.
Yeah. And
So
so I think with the cheat one, I think I would like to rely solely on other people's input, because I don't know what should be allowed. I don't really have a one or the other. I know she feels a little bit more like it would be nice for the sanity's sake to have a blow off valve, if you will, or just a little ripcord that you can pull, and maybe we get some barbecue chicken wings. I don't know. But please let us know on that one. It would be much appreciated.
all right. So the next little category that we're going to talk about is just some considerations. So during this type of thing, a big consideration and push that we'll need to have is to make sure that we're having enough water. That will help fill us up. That will just round things out. We'll probably be pooping more than normal, so we'll definitely need to get up on that. Also, trying to cook vegetables more than eating them raw, because I know my stomach is at least sensitive to if I eat too many raw vegetables, I just feel off. That was actually my second point. We also are considering doing a spending freeze. So that would mean not going to Target, Walmart, whatever, and buying unnecessary items. Like if the kids need something, that's different.
Yeah.
But we can wait a month to get something random that we've been wanting for a house or whatever. So we're kind of planning to do that spending freeze as a challenge to try to save up some more money, to really test, see how much we actually do spend, and then that we really don't need to be buying stuff frequently.
Yeah. So just for background information, as of right now, we both work full-time jobs. She's a nurse. I'm an engineer. So time-wise, we both spend roughly 40 hours a week in our positions. I work from home. Julia does not. So that will have to be part of our considerations for daily meals. For me, it's easier. I only go in 1 day a week, so I only have to plan a meal 1 day a week. Otherwise, I can kind of graze and eat from the kitchen at home or the yard, and help prepare the food for the kids. And then for Julia, we'll have to be a little more intentional about planning out the week in terms of meals.
Yeah. Which is one of the attractive things of doing rice, because I feel like I would be quite satisfied if I had rice and green beans or something like that for work. Which leads us into our other consideration is for me to have some type of brain food for work. I kind of talked about like the oats and dates bars, to see if that will help bridge that gap of hunger during an intense job. So I mean that's about it.
That's all we're kind of thinking through. Please let us know what you think about all this.
Or if you found any gaps in our plan, or I guess we didn't. We're waiting for feedback from you guys before we fully decide on stuff. Yeah. And I'm thinking that in 2 weeks is when we start this, which is
mid-July.
No, the last week of July.
Dita dropped her
rock bug
painted rock
in water.
In water.
Uno momento. Well, thank you for sticking it out this long. If you're still here, we really would like and need your input on all these things and kind of deciding what we're gonna do. And we'll probably do a quick video in a couple days. Kind of doing our concrete plan and rules, what we're gonna do.
Yeah. If we get some feedback, then we'll put together more. Here's what we decided. Here's the ideas. We're gonna go with this.
Yeah.
Bada bing, bada boom.
Something I just remembered on the sweetener part. Is it kosher for us to steal a little honey from our bees?
Ooh.
That's the reason why they're there, so I say yes. But let us know what you think. We'll
Thank
see you
guys.
soon. Bye.